week's episode of the Show Me Reptile podcast. We have a special guest with us this week. We've got Shay from Shay Serpents. Welcome. She is in a car with a cat.
Yes, I apologize for the yowling if you hear that. So.
And we have Scott fresh out of bed. And Micky is in our soon-to-open aquatic store in Troy.
Yeah, Troy, Missouri. Yep.
When's it opening, Micky?
It's going to open on Monday.
Yeah, for those who don't know, it's we essentially bought out the store next door to ours and moved the aquatic side over there. So they're next to one another, but essentially an entire fully outfitted aquatic store there.
Yeah, it's super cool.
So by Monday, that's October 7th?
Yes.
Yeah. Just for full disclosure.
For accountability purposes. For accountability purposes. Monday, October 7th. You should be able to come by this year.
I remember the initial open date was March 1st? I believe March 1st was it?
I actually think the initial open date was supposed to be in like October or November of last year.
That sounds right.
Well, we wanted to get everything right, though.
No, I just haven't had any freaking time or help to do this. So
it is tough, which leads right into the fact that we are still hiring. So we have sales positions, coordinator positions, and you're actually looking for shop manager, right?
Shop managers, warehouse workers. We've got all kinds of positions here. So little known to everybody, I've been building a little empire back here behind the scenes. So
I feel like empire is a big word to use.
Dude, it's a bunch of shit, man.
A ragtag band.
Yeah,
I'm just waiting for the expansion to. I'm waiting for the expansion to come to Tennessee.
It's coming. Don't worry.
Well, Shay, welcome. Where are you headed? We know you're on the road with a cat. Where are you headed?
I am currently on the road between Chattanooga and Nashville, dropping off some cages.
Nice. Something for store or somebody's custom order?
For a customer, yeah. So we do a lot of PVC cages. So I had someone order a couple of them, and I said, well, you know what, I can drop those off Wednesday probably. So worked out.
Hey, Shay, do you ever catch yourself singing along with John Denver when you're driving through the mountains there?
Hey, I grew up on John Denver. Love it.
Oh, no diss. I'm just saying, like sometimes when you're driving through those mountains, like you get little country roads going, you know.
Absolutely.
So Shay, obviously, other than cages, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what you do in the reptile world?
Okay, so I'm Shay Serpents, as they said, and been doing reptiles in some form for, I guess it's been over 20 years now. Started off, kind of like a lot of people do, wanted, one of every type of snake I could get my hands on. And then from there, kind of narrowed it down to what I enjoyed working with, and really initially got into the ball pythons. But after a few years, those got a little boring. So branched out and switching the focus now to more rainbow boas, colubrids, green trees, stuff like that. So still have some ball pythons, but trying to get that everything shifted over to a little bit of a not quite so common species. So we do that. Do a lot of feeders. Got the Chattanooga area pretty well covered with feeders. We don't ship, unfortunately. Maybe one of these days. And then also PVC cages and racks, which unfortunately we don't ship those either. Just small business still, but it's in the long-term future plans, hopefully.
Well, it sounds like you're shipping right now.
Well, dropping off,
If it's a big enough order, she's going to jump in the car with a cat. And
there you go. There you go.
So which Show Me shows do you vend, just to let people know where they can find you?
So, of course, we do Chattanooga. That's kind of our home base. Nashville's the other kind of our other home base. My fiance's in Nashville, so we go back and forth quite a bit. So Chattanooga, the Lebanon show there in Nashville, Murfreesboro. We'll do Gadsden, Knoxville, Marietta. I think that's about it.
Well, that's pretty sweet. And as far as your socials go, if somebody wants to look up what you do, what you have available, they'll find you on Facebook, I know for sure.
Yep, on Facebook, on Instagram, though I'm not as good at updating that. I'm old school, but working on it. And then on Morph Market, and I'm working on getting on the Show Me Marketplace, just, matter of finding time at this point. So
it does take a little bit of work to do it, but it's ramping up.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing good things. So it's just a matter of sitting down and getting some time to do it. But I got spring break coming up here in a couple of weeks, so hopefully I can do it then. That's the goal, at least.
We just actually added a bunch of incentives to Marketplace today, like for buyers with buyers accounts, they get a $5 credit on their tickets at the shows and stuff like
I
that.
saw that. Yeah, that popped up on my Facebook feed today, and I was like, hey, that's cool.
So everybody complaining about the $2 fee, it's like, okay, we're going to counter that with a $5 credit to your next show. How about that?
There you go. Yeah, I was like, really? Why are people complaining about $2? Like, good grief.
Yeah, I think some people, it's just a principle thing. Like, I shouldn't have to pay to be a shopper, but like they just don't grasp the fact that there are so many scammers and so much crap that happens when you're
Yep.
trying to make an online deal when it involves, live reptiles. And, we owe it to our vendors to protect them just as much as we owe it to the buyers.
Absolutely. And that's nice because I mean, we all know how many messages you get constantly that are like, hey, is this available? I'm interested, like to buy it, and then crickets, it's kind of like, really? Wasting my time here.
Well, that's kind of something I've talked to some marketplace sellers about, because they're like, I haven't gotten any messages. And I'm like, how many sales do you get off the messages from other platforms? And they're like, oh, none. And it's like, okay, so you're wasting your time answering a lot of messages that aren't ultimately leading to sales. There have been sales on marketplace, but
Good.
that's just the thing about it. Like, I can sit there and be like, oh, we had 1 million people come through the site, but nobody bought anything. So
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I notice as having vended on other sites, I get the same thing. The people who do send messages, a lot of times it's like Shay said, like they message you, is it available? When is this? What does it eat? Blah blah blah, and then they just disappear. But the people who are serious buyers, the first message has an offer in it, and and the sale is done the day of. It's like very rarely do you actually get a sale out of those people who talk to you for a week back and forth.
Yeah,
I always
so
ask,
true.
where do I send money? That's my first question. Like, I see it. Like, a lot of times I don't even need to see the animal. Like, I just need the description. Like, oh, it's this. Okay, where do you send the money?
Yep.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I had someone send me a message on Morph Market, I think it's a couple days ago, on one of my higher end snakes, and was like, I'd like to buy this. And I'm like, fantastic. I'm looking at your zip code, here's shipping, I'll, but, since it's a higher dollar one, I'll throw shipping in for free and da 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 da. And nothing, absolutely nothing back. I'm like, well, alrighty then.
Let me ask my wife. Let me
You're
check
right,
with my
exactly.
wife.
Yes. Actually, I'll pay you to take the animal. I'm going to ship it for free. I'm not interested anymore.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, my radiator just broke. Can't.
Yeah, that one's a lot. Yeah, AC broke, radiator broke, something happened. And I mean, I get that. I mean, everyone has that from time to time, but it seems to be a disproportionate amount that are interested in snakes for some reason.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I think all of us sit there at 3 o'clock in the morning and look at snakes and be like, man,
oh, sure.
kind of like that. I'd take that. I don't send a message unless I have the money to buy it. So.
Right, correct.
I wonder what that's like wasting people's time on the internet sales platform. Like, maybe that's what I'll do this evening. I'll log in and I'll go to everybody's profile and be like, hey, just start some mild conversation about
the only thing that's worse than the reptile world for that is try to sell appliances on Craigslist.
Or even buy them.
You will get 800 messages from people, and not a single one will actually follow through with the transaction.
Yep. Or even just buy them. I mean, shoot, I've been trying to buy a lawnmower just because mine died, and I was like, well, end of the season, might find a good deal. I think I messaged on 10 of them, and half of them didn't reply at all. And it's like, seriously, are you trying to sell this or not?
Listen, that's how I roll. When my lawnmower breaks, like, I break a lawnmower probably every other year, and I just get on the marketplace or Craigslist, and I'll buy like a $300, $350 lawnmower, and I'll run the wheels off of it, and then I'll send it to the scrapyard, and I'll buy another one for $300, $350.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
I got extra lazy, started paying my neighbor to cut my grass for me.
Yeah, I wish I had that luxury of paying the neighbor to do it. I think I cut my grass twice this year. My neighbors all hate me.
My neighbor's got a nice professional ride-on mower, so he just cruises right over.
Yeah, I was thinking with this podcast, since it'll go out this week. I know we've got a lot of people that have been inquiring about shows that are in areas that have been affected by the hurricane. And first of all, our hearts go out to everybody. We've been trying to check in with the people we know that are affected. But even still, a week later, communication is rough in a lot of those areas. So we've struggled to even get a hold, Micky's been trying to get a hold of venues where we have shows scheduled upcoming. and we don't even know if the venue is there or if the power's just out or the phone lines are still just out. So we're doing all of our due diligence this week to try to get a hold of as many of those as possible, and we'll be making posts on social media later this week about upcoming changes to the schedule. A couple of them we know or assume are not going to happen. Now, Mickey, if you want to go through the ones for sure.
Like Grovetown next week, that's more than likely not going to happen. I just have to wait for confirmation from the venue. And myself in good conscience, like, I just don't think that Asheville is going to happen. I've been looking at, like, how bad that area is, and I don't think that it's going to be recovered by our November show. Now, I might be wrong. Could be wrong. I'm wrong a lot, but I feel like those two definitely are going to be shows that will be getting postponed. And,
well, there's another storm system heading in this week too, so
yeah.
I just actually heard from Joe this afternoon from Asheville Wildside, and they're just getting some gas shipped in right now because they got one road that goes into town now available. But I mean, he said it's like a war zone there. I mean, everything's destroyed.
Well, what's crazy to me is, like, the federal government is not helping these people at all.
Really?
Like, that whole community up there in Asheville is kind of banded together, and they're just taking care of each other.
Yeah, it's the federal government.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw somewhere they were talking about
us, not helping us.
Saw somewhere where they were talking about the interstate between North Carolina and Knoxville was out, and they were predicting 6 months to a year before the interstate would be reopened. It's like, good grief.
Yeah, I think the Knoxville show is going to be fine, but yeah, just Asheville and more likely Grovetown. I was looking at and I've talked to a couple people there in the Augusta and Grovetown area, and it's just bad. It's really bad, and I feel terrible that those people have to go through that. And I know, like, Dan's Cricket Farm had the roofs ripped off a lot of their buildings and stuff like that. I think it's going to take that area a while to recover.
Yeah, that's a shame. But again, another thing, let everybody know, we put a post up earlier this week about the hurricane, and the idea was to connect a lot of our vendors and reptile keepers across those areas who might be able to help one another out. I mean, a lot of us are at a distance, and there's just nothing that we can do from the distance or nothing that we can do financially to help some of the things. But people who have reptile collections that are in need, struggling to find feeders, that type of thing, if you go into the comment section on the post we made about it, you'll find many people in those areas who have offered to deliver feeders, to get on the road and go places they normally wouldn't, just to help people make sure that their collections survive, these couple weeks until power's back on and food is accessible and whatnot. So
that's awesome.
Please,
well, I definitely need to.
If you need some help,
I definitely need to jump on that. I've got plenty
of
feeders to spare.
Yeah, that's fantastic. See, there's one more resource on it. So, yeah, just the people who need something, reach out and put it in the comments there. We're a network of people who really care about one another, and hopefully we can put the people in contact who can do something to help each other.
Awesome.
So Shay, are you still doing the what is that called, Falconry?
I'm not anymore, unfortunately. Enjoyed it for quite a while, but the reptiles have kind of dominated all my free time at this point. So, unfortunately, I haven't been able to pick that back up in the last couple of years. But sure enjoyed it when I got to do it. I do miss it. I'm still licensed, kept my license up, and I still do get calls from from our local police department if they find an injured bird of prey or something. I still get calls to come pick it up. So a lot of times I'll go get it, and if it's something that's short fix, I can let it go in a day or two. Then normally I'll do that, but if not, I get it to one of the rehabbers in our area, and they'll normally take pretty good care of it. So they're good people up there.
So are you breeding your green tree pythons this year at all?
I have not been trying too aggressively to breed them. I paired up one pair, and I thought the female was gravid, but then now I'm beginning to think she reabsorbed. So I don't know. I've been a little hesitant. I didn't have great luck with my first clutch a couple of years back. Just getting them started was a pain in the butt. So I've been hesitant to try again.
What were some of the challenges that you had while you were trying to start those green tree pythons?
The biggest issue again was just getting them started feeding. I tried all the different scents and the you know, and the live and the frozen and the this and the that and the pestering them. I mean, you name it. I, you know, have some really good mentors with green trees. I try to keep a mentor pretty much with every species that I keep. I always figure there's someone out there who knows more than I do. So no matter how long I've been doing it, I can always learn more. So there's always somebody I call. So called up my green tree mentor and was like, hey, you know, what do I need to do here? But unfortunately, only got 3 of them going pretty well finally. But yeah, not quite the odds that I had hoped for. But you know, hopefully live and learn, do better next time. But definitely has been a little hesitant to try again just because of my time constraints at this point. Staying super busy.
So the failure to thrives are pretty common with those then.
I don't know as much the failure to thrive. It's just more the failure to eat. Just getting them to actually take food. They just literally will starve themselves to death. You know, I've found they're very difficult to get going.
It's weird. It seems like that should be such an inborn instinct for
you would think,
every animal as a baby to be like, I want a lot of food.
You would think, but I've also been given the hint this go around that they do best starting on lizards. So I may start them on morning geckos or something similar. Hopefully this next go round.
I mean, when you think about it, even like human babies struggle to latch on nipples sometimes. So I mean, it's not always ingrained. Yep. Sometimes it's got to figure it out.
Hey, Scott, that might be a trigger word.
What, nipple?
Nipple.
I'm not the one. I'm not the one who brought up penises this time. Wait, I guess I just did.
Oh damn, is that penis?
I heard about that conversation. I mean, that's how I always describe scaleless snakes. So I mean, it's relevant.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a 9.5 out of 10. Anybody that's handled a scaleless snake, but whatever.
My kosher explanation for that was always, well, it feels like, you know, old lady skin, like grandma's arm, you know. That was the kid-friendly version.
Okay, yeah, we'll go with that for for this week's clean version.
There you go.
So on a plus note of shows that are going, we got a pretty busy weekend scheduled coming up over the next couple of weeks. Kind of want to run through those, Scott, since that's kind of your scheduling territory.
Oh boy, we have so many shows. I gotta actually pull it up because it's a lot.
Yeah, I think we have 5 or 6 this weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty much the gambit from here to the rest of the year. So this weekend we have Jackson, Mississippi, Jacksonville, Arkansas, Kansas City, Missouri, Colorado Springs, Colorado, and West Warwick, Rhode Island. Next weekend we got our first show in Denton, Texas. We got Cape Girardeau, Missouri, Portland, Maine, and Grovetown. Well, possibly Grovetown. Week after that, we got Boise, Idaho, Gadsden, Alabama, Knoxville, Tennessee. Last week of the month, we got St. Louis, Rock Hill, South Carolina, and Janesville, Wisconsin, Waco, Texas, first show out there. Grand Island, Nebraska, first show out there, and Loveland, Colorado.
Nice.
It's covering some distance from Colorado to Maine.
Yeah. Yeah, we're nationwide this month. I got like 3 new shows.
I think that's too many reptile shows, guys. Too many reptile shows spread out all over the country. Way too many shows. I mean, what is there, like 1,000-mile spread between some of those? 1,500 miles?
Sure.
Well, yeah, but it's so much. Now, all of the people who were in Ohio that could have gone to Maine, they might go to Loveland instead, and that's going to throw it off.
I know. I know. Terrible.
I mean, I'll be in Knoxville, but, you know, beyond that.
I'll be in Knoxville, too.
Hey, see you there.
I won't.
Loser.
I was going to, but we're going to send Blake instead.
Yeah, we sold out in Arkansas again, too, didn't we?
We did. I think Arkansas is going to be sold out every freaking show from here on out.
I actually talked to that venue today, and they're going to have a meeting about us being able to expand.
Really? Use the gym?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
I did some sweet talking. I said, listen, I like having our show there, but we need more space.
Yeah.
And currently, this is not working for us.
Yeah.
So I said, either we're going to have to expand there, or we're going to have to find another spot to do this show. So
okay, so it wasn't sweet talking, it was more hostile negotiations.
I was being sweet. I was being so nice.
I tried sweet talking, didn't work.
He sweetly said, give me what I want, or...
Yeah, I tried sweet talking last time, and they told me no.
So what state or area do you see is growing the fastest for the Show Me shows?
You were kind of breaking up. What's going on?
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, just wondering what state or area you guys are seeing that is growing the fastest for the Show Me shows.
I mean, we've always had a good stronghold in the Midwest overall. Um, I mean, obviously Arkansas's been blowing up. We have I think the only show in Arkansas still, right? Does that sound right, Mickey? Yeah,
Yeah.
we actually have another location in the works too in Arkansas. We're
But
looking into
Texas is kind of going because we got one show in Texas that just had to Odessa just had to move into a bigger building, and then we've added 2 new locations, adding Denton and Waco.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, really, the
Growing pretty
Southeast where
nice.
we've kind of struggled lately, but I think a lot of that's just rumors and gossip that we're trying to beat out amongst
Yeah.
vendors that just for whatever reason chose not to like us for one reason or another. Um, but they're the ones missing out. I feel like they don't want to work our shows.
Yeah,
Um,
that's not a good
outside
thing.
of that, yeah, but we're growing strong in the Midwest. We got a couple new shows in Illinois, Texas, Nebraska. We're looking up north too into Minnesota. We've got a new show in Ohio. Um, everything on here's been going great, but we also don't have people, talking bad about the shows and kind of ruining it for everybody else. So
We're doing really
it's
good up in the Northeast too. We're working on another location in New York. We got Rhode Island this weekend. That's a really strong show.
Nice.
Yeah, you should go up to the Northeast. Take Mike up there and go scuba diving.
It might be a little chilly up there.
No,
so
the
what's
summers
it
are
for?
really nice.
Are they?
Yeah, the
Yeah, we
summers are
just
super nice up there.
we just did our decompression certification this past weekend in one of the quarries. It was 52 degrees. I about died.
Ice bath challenge.
Yeah, pretty much. I had a 7 mil wetsuit, and of course I was still frozen. So they're like looking at me. They're like, "You cold?" I'm like, "Uh huh." Dying over here.
No,
Yeah, Scott mentioned Boise too. That show, from the first show to the second show, really took off, and it looks like it's growing again this time. The vendor list is starting to fill up.
yeah, the last show that we had a show there in the winter time, and I had went up there, Rachel and I, and we had a little over 10,000 people through the door. We had a line outside around the building all day, both days. It was ridiculously busy.
I think that's the answer sometimes when people wonder why we go to some of these remote areas. It's like because they're just not being reached. They're not being serviced by our industry. So, we're giving people an opportunity that they just can't get without making a 10-hour trip somewhere.
Yeah, I mean,
Was
your hardcore reptile people are going to make the trip to super shows, but other than that, the average person, the newer keeper, they're not going to travel 2 to 4 to 6 or 8 or 10 hours for a show. It's not going to
yeah.
happen.
So was the Southeast just kind of
Yeah, I mean,
the
unfortunately, a lot.
What's that?
Go ahead. I was just saying, was the Southeast
What?
kind of the
No,
birthplace of
what's up, Sam?
reptile shows, or can you hear me? Okay.
No,
I was just
actually,
asking.
Ohio is.
Okay, Ohio. So what led
Yeah.
to the oversaturation in the Southeast?
Well,
Not you guys,
Mickey,
just
you probably
Maybe
expert
just
on
in
that.
because you
general.
got maybe just because you got so many importers that the stuff comes in through Florida. I think
Hadn't
that
thought of that.
probably they created tons and tons of shows just looking for outlets to move the animals they brought in.
I
That could
don't
be.
really agree with the oversaturation. The problem is we have to continue to grow our industry. So like I really don't agree with that oversaturation argument. I mean, somebody
Okay.
that stood on that oversaturation argument for the longest time just recently had a reptile show alongside of somebody else having a reptile show in a city, and both the reptile shows were a success. So I mean, that oversaturated. Whenever we go into like, let's take a metropolitan area like Chattanooga. Like, how many people do you think are in Chattanooga? 2 million.
I have no idea. Something like that, probably.
So in the metropolitan area in Chattanooga, there's 2.5 million people or whatever. So if we're putting a reptile show on there, and say we get 3,000 or 4,000 people through the door on a weekend on a good show, what percent of the population is that? That's like what, 1% of the population?
Something like that.
Even
Yeah.
less.
Like half of a percent, something like that. So I mean, it's not that it's oversaturated. It's just we're not reaching enough people to get them into the into the shows.
Yeah. What's
So
the average on reptile keepers now? Like 3% of the population, 3 to 4% of the population.
It's
Yeah.
4.6%, and in 2016 it was 2%.
interesting. So then,
Yeah. So I mean,
is the solution then at that point more reptile shows, or is it more advertising or exposure, or what's the solution then at that point?
It's all of the above.
give the people what they
Maybe
want.
not. Yeah, maybe not so many reptile shows like in your area. It always seems like everybody schedules them boom, 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 boom within a week of each other. So it goes a
Right.
month. There's reptile shows every weekend, and then it goes 4 or 5 months, and then it goes 3 reptile shows in a row. It goes 3 months. Like then that's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
If everybody's marketing and doing what they're supposed to do with the shows, I mean, I really think that they're gonna, continue to grow and stuff. I know in a lot of areas, when we polled people in the past and shared markets with Repticon, a lot of our attendees didn't even know what a Repticon was.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, for the longest time,
Yeah,
Repticon was the only option, and there wasn't a whole lot else that was even out there. So I think it's. I mean, I was thrilled when you guys came around. I was like, about time someone give Repticon a run for their money. So.
Yeah, I think another key point too is the quality of the shows that are going on, and the quality of just the other breeders and everything too. Because if you got new people coming into the hobby and they have a bad first experience, whether it be because they bought a sickly animal or they're given improper information by the breeder they bought it from, whatever it is, they have a bad experience with that animal taking it home and then it dying shortly afterwards, they're probably not going to continue to, stay in the hobby. They're more than likely going to say, well, I tried that, fuck it, and, back out.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I think what's up?
No, I was just gonna say, I feel like some of the thing that I see in the Southeast is like I guess maybe some of the infighting or like just negativity that I've seen down there in comments and posts and stuff in general, that hopefully we can move past that. I mean, that's something that we always try to stress, is positively helping one another grow in the community without, the attacks, and hopefully we can continue to do that down there and see that aspect of the shows down there improve.
Yeah, which, I don't want to beat up too much on the Southeast, because there are some very fantastic breeders and vendors down there.
There's tons of great breeders down there. Absolutely. Lots of great people down there too.
I mean,
yeah,
I like to think
100%.
So, but,
but we all yeah, but
I think everybody gets too tied up and this is across the board. I really think that everybody just gets too tied up in competing with each other, and who's better than who and everything like that. And it's really unnecessary, because we're trying to grow something big enough to where everybody can thrive in it. I mean, I know the last year, unless you live under a rock or you're independently wealthy, the economy freaking sucks. Like, everybody's broke. Yeah. So, we see that in our stores too, and everything else that we do. Like, people just don't have the money. But,
the
COVID, the people who are still continuing to succeed, the people who have quality animals and give the service like you're talking about, making sure that they give, great information out, healthy animals, those vendors are thriving. I mean, you don't see them struggling, as much as a lot of people in the economy have. So, of course, money is tight for everybody, but if you're doing things right, you're going to push through it.
Listen, I've been to shows where there's 15,000 people through the door, and there will be people there complaining about how they didn't make sales. And every time I walk past them all day, they're doing this. That's all they do. Like,
yeah,
this is killing your sales, guys. Get your shit together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if a lot of vendors realize how important they are to the success of shows, because we get them in the door. As coordinators, we're usually greeting them, making sure they have a good time coming in and out of the door. But once they walk past us, their experience is pretty much left up to the vendors. So if you're not paying attention to them, or you're ignoring them, or you're ugly to them, or whatever it is, if they have a bad time because of you as a vendor, that affects not only you, but the show promotion and every other vendor there, because you're ruining that person's experience at the show. You're bringing their mood from here to here or here. So it's really up to the vendors, I think, to really keep that momentum going, keep that vibe going up. If they're just being ugly, then I mean, you're going to ruin it for everybody, honestly. And how likely is that person to come back to the show?
Yep.
Yeah, not only that, something else I've kind of noticed too is I think I'm guilty of it too. You know, we're out at shows every weekend. Every weekend we're out at a show. So to us, it's not that special, but to that new family that's walking through the door with their 10-year-old kid, it's a whole new experience for them, and they're excited about it. And we lost Shay.
Am I back?
I think
I
she's
still
back.
see Shay. She's jumping around.
Let me. Is there any way I can pause this and go throw it on the Wi-Fi and see if it'll do better here? I don't know if there's a way to do that.
Yeah, we can pause it.
All right, let's try that if you don't care. Just give me just a second to get on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you can pause it. You should be able. You know, we'll keep going and just.
We'll
Okay.
just edit this out.
Even if you, yeah, I was gonna say, even if you disappear for a minute, you can use that link and should be able to get back in.
Okay,
Now
cool.
we can talk
All right,
about dicks.
come back in.
I gotta feed some baby cobras later.
Oh God.
Let's go out to the kitchen. Let's go out to the kitchen. Let's go out to the kitchen and have ourselves a snack.
Ice cold milk. Help yourself.
Shay's
Yeah.
back.
I'm back.
Shay's
Hey,
back.
Hopefully the Wi-Fi is better. We'll see.
I mean, your camera looks clear. Still a little
that's
jumpy,
good.
but yeah. Before you're a little grainy.
Trying to find something to prop this thing up on, and I'm like, well, I don't know what to put it on. So I'll just sit here and try to hold it still.
Okay, so we'll just pick up from here.
Yeah, we'll
So
probably want
what-
to cut out some of that in the meantime.
Yeah.
Let's go positive. We went hurricanes and everybody's broke and the world sucks and everybody's shitty. So let's go with like something positive, I guess.
I'll teach you guys how to assist feed baby king cobras.
Ooh, that sounds fun. How long does this go, by the way, just for question's sake?
We're almost done.
Okay, cool.
I'm just cutting the head off corn snakes over here. Don't
I
worry
want to
about me.
see. Fun.
Yeah, that
All right.
video didn't do that guy much good.
No.
Listen, sometimes you have to do shit like that, but you never take pictures of it. Like, what the fuck is wrong with
Right?
these kids?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, I got to, probably start feeding baby cresties to the green trees, but I was like, I probably shouldn't say that on the podcast. Someone's going to get offended. So.
I could sell
yeah.
those for $20.
Exactly.
I've been feeding morning geckos this little Indian tree bow I got.
There you go. Yeah. I was like, either morning geckos or cresties, but morning geckos I have not had much luck with. So I was like, maybe we'll try cresties.
Oh, I got
Alright,
a fuckload.
So we'll pick
Oh,
up
I
right
need to
here
get some
from here,
for you.
Brady. So, what kind of stuff are you wanting to do with the future of Shay's Serpents?
Well,
Shay?
I'm working on expanding the rainbow boas. I've got several T-negative albino females that are just about up to breeding size. So excited to get into that a little bit more. So they've been growing them up for a few years. John Wiseman down in Atlanta there has been a really big help on that. He's kind of my rainbow boa mentor, and it's dangerous going to his house though, because I think I come home with 2 or 3 rainbows every single time. Kind of hazardous. But yeah, he's been working on some really cool stuff, and he's been really very kind enough to help me kind of get my foot in the door on some of the cool projects he's been working on and stuff. So definitely expanding them. Give the green trees another shot. Working on some, just different few random colubrids. I got some black milks, some gray banded kings. Picked up a few children's pythons at one of the shows here recently. So, just a little bit odds and ends here and there. So see how it goes.
Now, how do you feel about the ball python market? I know a lot of people say it's dead. I don't think it's dead. I just don't think that we're reaching the right people to get those snakes into new homes.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not dead. I mean, obviously the prices aren't, where they were during, say, COVID, for example. I mean, we miss those days. I mean, all of us do. But I mean, shoot, I could post a snake and slap a ridiculous price tag on it and it'd sell before I barely got it posted. So, I mean, that was fantastic, and there's definitely a difference. Like, I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, you buy a baby female, banana, for example, and I paid, I think, $500 back in the day, and I was like, oh my goodness, so expensive for this snake, and now you can't sell an adult female for 200, so it's definitely a difference in prices for sure, but the customer base is still there. I think there's definitely that sweet spot, kind of that under maybe $300, and then then you have that higher end sweet spot. As it was described to me, the people who are going to pay 4 figures plus for a snake generally probably aren't impacted by the economy as much as the ones that are worried about, putting food on the table.
Yeah,
Right.
the thing with ball pythons too, though, is like a lot of times it can be morph driven. I mean, COVID, of course, did a lot of pluses for everybody in the reptile world for that brief period, but also it coincided with like the explosion of clown, and
Yes.
clown happened to pair well with almost every single thing you put it with, so it just lit the industry back up, and no matter what you had in your collection, you could mix clown into it and it was making all kinds of cool stuff. So I think that just really fueled like 2, 3, 4 years of excitement. And then, well, now every single person out there has clown something, and again, like you said, you can go buy an adult for $250 now.
He's shaking his head. Scott's like, no.
So.
I have a clown anything.
I'm with you there, Scott. I was late to the clown game. I picked up a couple and it was like, meh, not my thing. So I've got a few left. I'm moving out, and that's pretty much it. So.
But yeah, I mean, same thing. Another new morph comes along, or something that pairs well with a lot of things, and you'll have another little mini explosion like that.
I'll tell you, from my time that I spend in the store, people really still love the ball python though. And I try to tell, folks that are struggling with, like, that they don't really want to breed them anymore because they're not making the money off them. It's like, well, look past the money and look at what you enjoy about the animal. Because, like, whenever I'm up at like a store and I'm talking to a family about a ball python and I'm showing them all the cool stuff and the different colors about them and stuff, people are still really, really interested in them. And I think that's where a lot of that's headed to is the pet market, the $200 snake.
Yeah.
You just have to have a good mixture of the two, especially when you're going out to do shows. I hear some breeders like, oh, I don't bring my higher end stuff out to the shows. Well, why not? You might have something cool that somebody's looking for in their project.
Yeah, I do get that though. Like, I mean, I don't think, other than maybe, the big national level shows, I don't know that I've ever sold, anything over probably about $400 or $500 at a show. I mean, I know it's possible, but personally, I haven't. Again, I said pretty much everything I sell at shows is under 300 for the most part. I mean, again, there's a couple exceptions, but yeah, so I will admit I'm kind of one of those guilty ones. If I'm going to bring a higher end stuff, it ends up just kind of being for display purposes, I guess, because there's definitely not, I don't think, as many, people that are going to come through a smaller show, maybe as much as, it depends on which show too, just depends on, some shows are obviously, I'm not going to take one to a higher end one to maybe Gadsden that I would to even Knoxville or Lebanon or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, like you mentioned though about like there being a sweet spot too, like in the in the pet trade. There's certain things that are just never going to get old, and they're never going to go to zero. Like pied always looks cool. Leucistic snakes, like somebody sees an all white snake with blue eyes, it's gonna capture their eye. That snake's never gonna be $50 or $75. It's always gonna maintain value, just because even if you have 5 of them, you're gonna sell all 5.
Right.
Maybe not today, but they won't sit around in your collection forever.
Man, I mean, those are great snakes to have at shows too. I mean, those are good morphs because those are ones that catch the eye. People walking by, especially people that aren't versed in reptiles or ball pythons or any of that, they're going to see a white snake and go, what the hell is going on over here?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the morphs in ball python, the differences are so subtle that, a trained person may look at it and see 4 morphs in one snake, but the average person is going to be like, oh, that's brown.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
that's kind of been that's me. I'm like, I'm not going to breed anything that I can't pick out of a lineup real easy, because if I can't see it, Joe Blow Public sure isn't. So for me, I mean, and that's just me. Like I'm going to go for stuff that's generally a little more flashy, just because, like you said, that catches people's eye. The pieds and the even some of the clowns sometimes will. It just kind of depends. But your subtle differences in, like you said, a brown snake. Most people are going to be like, yeah, I've got one like that at home, and you're like, no, you don't. But it's okay.
So Shay, what kind of advice would you give somebody that that's looking into getting into maybe not necessarily breeding ball pythons, but just breeding reptiles?
Do it for the passion and not for the money, because the money's not, it's not a thing. I mean, maybe if you're, if you have a warehouse or something, but it's really not. It's because you enjoy it. It's because it's a hobby. It's because it's fun. Yeah, and you got to find a way to keep it fun. If it becomes work, then it's work at that point. And I mean, I got to that point probably about a year ago. Honestly, I was just like, I'm done with this. I'm sick and tired of this. I'm just over it. It's getting ridiculous. So at that point, I kind of had to rearrange and downsize and find my passion again. And that's, I mean, that's, I think, where it's at, because if you lose that, then it's just another job. And that's where, unfortunately, the animals are often going to suffer and things like that too. So it's definitely got to be something you're doing for the enjoyment of it. And don't get so big to the point that you can't ensure that your animals are going to good homes, stuff like that. So I'm very picky about who my babies go to, and I've turned down sales just because I'm like, no, you can't put the snake in a bird cage. Sorry, not going to happen. Buy your snake from someone else. So I'm like, not doing it. It's not worth the money. So I mean, that's one reason. Like, so I do tub setups at shows. I sell like a 15-quart tub setup kit with housing, heat mat, thermostat, hide, water bowl, all the stuff. Because so many people would come by and say, well, I don't have anything to put it in. I guess I'll go find a 10-gallon tank. And yeah, you can make a tank work, but a tub setup, generally is a lot more simplistic. It's less expensive, and you don't have the humidity and stuff issues that a lot of people fight with tanks. So, I mean, it was one of those things that I put together. I mean, I make a grand total of maybe $15 off those things. I don't make hardly anything, but I sell them because I want to make sure the babies are in something that they'll thrive in.
Yeah, that's super important. I know some people look at those tub setups and they probably scoff, but really that's an ideal setup to keep a baby ball python or any real python comfortable. It keeps them feeding, keeps them feeling secure, because I say this all the time. There's a psychology to the python. If you take that little baby snake and throw it in a fish tank, it's probably not going to eat again for you.
Yep. And that's probably one of the soapboxes you'll definitely get me on real fast is tanks. I mean, and I started there too. I think everybody does. I started with the 10-gallon fish tank and the snake from PetSmart. I mean, again, everyone starts somewhere. And I kept saying, this there's got to be something better. This thing doesn't hold humidity. My snake has bad sheds. It's just, on and off food, and there's got to be something better. And I did hours of research online trying to find what else can I use instead of this horrible fish tank. And finally came across someone talking about these storage totes. And I was like, well, duh, it's plastic. Of course it's going to, do better than glass with a screen top. And so it was kind of a light bulb moment for me. And that was way back in college, years ago. But yeah, and ever since then, I mean, and people think, a tote has to be a sterile, boring setup. But I've seen people that have done some amazing things with totes where they put all sorts of enrichment and decor and plants and all sorts of stuff. So just because you say the word tote, doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a boring, sterile setup for your animal. You can still do it very nicely with a lot of enrichment and stuff like that. But again, it's meeting the needs of the animal as opposed to just what you want as the keeper. It's like, well, as keepers, it's our responsibility to make sure these snakes are getting the best home, the best environment that we can make for them. And unfortunately, that's generally not going to be a glass fish tank.
Yeah.
I think people definitely too often anthropomorphize reptiles and,
so much
want to give them what they would want. But,
yeah.
a baby snake is prey for most of stuff in its environment. So it wants to be in a dark, secluded area where it feels safe and not exposed to predators. So breaking that stigma for people is often the toughest part.
It is so hard. I mean, the people that, come and they say, I need an 8-foot cage for my ball python. I'm like, do you really though? And I try, you try to educate nicely, but some people just, some people don't listen, but it's, oh, my snake likes to explore. And I'm like, look, if your ball python's all over the place, something's wrong. Your temperatures are wrong. It's insecure. Something's off, because a happy ball python is going to be hiding in its hide and not moving a whole lot, now, come out in the evening or something, but it's not going to be out a whole bunch. So it's like, no, it's not that your snake necessarily likes to climb or likes to explore. It's that probably something is wrong. But people don't like to hear that, of course. So it's, it's trying to educate nicely.
When I first got a ball python and I would like change all of its enclosure out, and then it would be like out exploring and climbing, I would be like, oh, it's excited. Everything's clean and different. I'm like, no, it's pissed off because something's different. And then, give it 30 minutes, it's going to nestle itself right back into the hide where it was before, as soon as it rearranges all the cypress and,
Yeah.
It wasn't exploring. It was just pissed off and looking for safety.
Yeah, exactly. And that's... Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, they're coming out at night when you're not around. They don't sense any movement. The lights are out. That's when they'll come out and check things out, hunt a little bit around food time. But other than that, they're lazy. They're digesting their food. They're hanging out in their warm spot. They're just chilling.
Yeah, and it's a matter of knowing your species, and like you said, so many people just I can't words today. Anyway, what you said, snakes, and it's like, look, hey, it's knowing your species. Again, ball pythons they're heavy bodied, they're not super active, they're gonna be fairly sedentary. So putting them in a massive cage doesn't really benefit them. But then you take a colubrid or something else that's an active diurnal snake, and yeah, it can definitely benefit from a bigger cage. So it's not just, oh, well, bigger is necessarily better. Well, not necessarily. It's knowing your species and what that species needs to thrive, as opposed to just, oh, let's put them in the biggest cage possible sort of thing.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problems that we have too is that there is often a lot of misinformation stuff on social media and all that as far as like beginner reptiles. People see ball pythons because they keep hearing it as the best beginner snake, which I mean, for some people, if you do your research, but really, I think you should do your research on what snake is what you want. If you want something to be active and go around the enclosure, you probably want a colubrid. You don't really want a ball python 'cause it's going
Exactly.
to hide. It's going to hang out and only come out at night. So, like, you really need to do your research on what's best for you and what you want out of your reptile versus what the internet tells you is your beginner reptile. If you do your proper
Yeah,
research, you can
100%.
make any reptile a beginner reptile if you do your research
Absolutely.
first.
Yeah, I
Yeah, if
completely
you
agree. I
love
mean, shoot.
thrill and challenge and risk, a venomous snake might be the best beginner reptile for you. Not smart, but
Yeah,
it might be the best beginner
yeah.
reptile if those were your criteria for why you wanted it. But
That's one where you should go back to what Shay was saying earlier and find a mentor and work with a
yes,
mentor first, and then maybe talk venomous as your first.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's one thing I would love to learn. Like I wish I was closer to Mickey and y'all there so I could actually get some hands-on training with that because I'm good at dodging, arboreal species bites, and stuff like that. And pretty good at, reading snake behavior after enough years, but I've never gotten to work with venomous. I've always wanted to, but of course we can't have them here in Tennessee, so it's kind of hard to find the opportunity to learn. So
Rusty will not let you guys have any venomous down there at all. I tried your TWRA. I tried. He's
I've
like,
tried to.
absolutely not.
Yeah, I've tried
But
to. Yeah, I mean, shoot, even just getting permits for about anything is very difficult. Like, crazy thing was because I have a falconry permit, I could not get a permit for an indigo or a box turtle or anything else. Like, they basically said you have one wildlife permit and you can't have any more. So that was a few years back. Maybe it's gotten better, but yeah, at the point in time, they wouldn't give me a permit for anything native at that point because I had a falconry permit.
You can't
If
have a
I know the
bird and a
government,
turtle.
if I know
You're
the
not allowed a
government like I
bird and
think
a
I
turtle.
do,
That's crazy.
yeah.
it probably didn't get better. It probably got worse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Thank you, government. Thank you, government.
Uh
Thank you, government.
huh.
But all right, well let's wrap it up, guys. I really appreciate you being on it with us tonight, Shay. And I'll see you in a couple weeks. I'll see Mike. Bring your lovely fiance so I can rub bellies with him.
Glad you
I
got
will
the
definitely
cat
bring him.
cages delivered.
Yes, me too, for sure. Yeah, we'll be there. We'll be in Knoxville, so we'll definitely see you there. Thanks for having me.
All right,
Bye.
thanks,
All right,
Shay.
Shay, it was a pleasure. We'll see you.
Bye. See you.